You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
So are we going to do the intro when we've got other people in the room?
I don't know, is that kind of weird?
It could be kind of weird, but let's give it a go.
We can leave if you want.
We can just be random voices in the background.
Yeah. You can witness.
You could be. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. All right, you ready?
Okay, go on.
Hi, I'm Davey.
And I'm Mitch.
And we are the Bargain Bin Gamers.
It's definitely not weird with two other people.
I am...
No judgment. This is a safe space.
I am so embarrassed for you right now. So anyway, what are we, Mitch? What is this? What's going on?
Well, we're the Bargain Bin Gamers. Did you not get that from the intro?
This is what happens when his script doesn't work. But this is the podcast, YouTube show, and Twitch channel where we play the cheapest and shittest games out there so that you don't have to.
And hopefully we find a few hidden gems along the way.
And we've found two today.
I didn't know we were that cheap.
I would describe as the trashiest thing ever in ages.
Well, look, I'm sure you've been called worse. No.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So we're really lucky today. We have been joined by Warren and Jake from the Melbourne Gaymers, spelt Gaymer, much like our own show.
No infringement.
Yeah. How you going? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We won't sue you if you don't sue us.
No. Well, equal opportunity gamers.
Yeah. That's exactly what we're all about here. But so for the uninitiated out there, now I don't know who normally does the spiel on behalf of all of you, both of you.
We do every second word.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thing one, thing two.
Yeah. So tell me, what is the Melbourne Gaymers?
So we're a social group, basically, a networking group, and we basically try and connect people from across, in this case, Melbourne, and try and get those that have a common interest in, say, gaming or just general geekery into the same room so they can meet each other, basically. It sounds a bit more datey, I guess, when I say it like that, but in the end, it's just about networking and finding friends, really.
Yeah. And now, are you the founders of the Melbourne Gaymers, or what is your role in it?
So I've worked with Melbourne Gaymers for many years now, actually. It's been probably 7 or 8 years or something like that, so it's been quite a while, and it's gone through a lot of evolutions over the time, and Warren's just joined more recently as a board game aficionado, on board our newbies who are at our board game events. So,
right, yeah, because it's not just about video games, right? Like it's gaming as a spectrum. What's the right way to put that?
Yeah, it covers video games, whether you play mobile games, whether you play tabletop games, or whether you play video games on a console or PC. The idea is that you can find other people who like your type of games and connect with them.
I feel like there's also a lot of crossover between that, so it makes
absolutely.
it fairly easy for people to have common interests.
Yeah, and that's why we have the geekery general kind of byline, because it's about, if you're interested in something like IT or tech or building a computer, you're going to find people who are also interested in that as well.
Yeah. So how long has it been going on for?
Before my time, as in, no, like before I was born.
Back in the day.
That was 17th century.
Yeah. Picture this. Sicily.
You find some original Reddit posts like 2014?
I was trying to find the answer to this question a little while ago because someone asked me, and I was trying to, I believe the origins was on Reddit. And so we were finding
all good things from Reddit.
Yeah. So some people were looking for like-minded people in their region, in their area, so Melbourne, and basically tried to get a group together, and that's kind of where it started. And it's gone through many evolutions, and a lot of it's been actually driven by the interest in social media and where people are in terms of the platform. Like, for example, there was a massive period where Facebook was the most popular social site, and so people would congregate there for Melbourne Gamers. And now a lot of people have switched to Discord for gaming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of moving along. The group is moving with the social networks, and it's not stuck in Facebook, not stuck on Twitter, or not stuck in Reddit. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Because you've got regular kind of like in-person meetups that people go to for gaming. Like I know you've got one coming up next weekend at Molly's. But it's more than just those regular events. There's an online community behind it.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. There's two halves to it. So there's the online space where we encourage people to meet other people in person. So it's a good way to, I find, get the best connection with friends and stuff. But there's a lot of people who aren't able to make it to Melbourne, who might be regional Victoria or even interstate. And so they would meet potentially on the Discord channels and discuss games and whatnot on the Discord side of things. So they can connect outside of the events.
Amazing. Now, and it's part of this is like an Australian wide network of these gamer networks, right?
So the Discord is called the Australian Gamers Network, and that was an initiative I started pre-COVID era to try and unite a lot of the individual gamer groups that were happening in the States. So there was the Sydney Gamers, the Perth Gamers, there was a Brisbane Gamers, Melbourne Gamers. And so we're trying to create a resource that everyone could come to, and they didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So they didn't have to reinvent rules, just simple things like that while you could grab rules off the internet, we needed rules that were specifically around creating the space we wanted. So that was making sure that you were respectful, that, no transphobic comments, all that kind of stuff. Making sure that everyone had the same ethos when they were building their local regional groups. And so the AGN kind of was that overarching banner. And then Melbourne Gamers basically just heavily inherits all of that ethos.
Right. Okay. So you started the AGN, is it correct?
Yeah, it's registered. It's like not an official, like, I wouldn't say it's a household name or anything like that, but the Discord server is the AGN, and we have a lot of people from Perth, a lot of people from other states who can then join and don't feel like, oh, we're in the Melbourne gamer space. Yeah. That wasn't our intention. It's online. Why not have everyone?
You may as well. You just bring them all in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. And so why the gamers, right? So this is what a lot of people will sort of wonder. I mean, I feel like I kind of know the answer, but what's the importance of having this kind of nerdy gamer space, which is purely with the GAY instead of the GAMER?
Yeah, Warren can no doubt attest to that as well. But I think online, everyone, especially online in multiplayer games, we've all had to deal with the straighties and
the straighties
and the other people who aren't as welcoming as other people in your community are. And so it's just about creating a space that you can reliably be yourself and not have to censor yourself.
But I think someone who joined relatively recently, gaming for me and for most people is about having fun. And it is significantly easier to have fun if you are relaxed and can feel yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry that you're being judged. You don't have to worry that someone cares about your sense of humor or who you're interested or what you like.
Yeah.
And finding a space where that is a given, where that's the case, just makes it easier to have fun, which is the whole point. So I think having gamers, and why I searched for it, was I would like to meet people to be social with, to do the things I like, and be myself without fear that I have to hide any part of me. And I think having that kind of inclusive space is great. It makes it easier for people to be themselves.
Yeah. And it probably, I can only speak from my own personal experience as well, but it probably means that it's more collaborative. It's a little bit more open. Everyone's having a bit more fun. You don't have to tiptoe around and like do that eggshell situation, which I'm sure we've all had to do.
Yeah. You effectively don't have to feel like you need to come out to people.
Yeah.
And then have to explain or justify or worry about
those micro come outs that you have to do with like random strangers.
And what's funny, we actually do get straight identifying people come along. They don't, they're just, we say everyone's welcome, including allies. And we're a space that's just relaxed and easy. That's what it is.
Yeah. And in terms of that, just so that our listeners can have a bit more of an understanding, and myself as well, because like I mentioned to you this is something new to me that I never really knew too much about. What are these events entailing? Like, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of experience that people could expect if they come to the Melbourne Gamers?
Yeah. So at the moment we're rebuilding after COVID is the short version of that. So we obviously took a hiatus because we couldn't do in-person events. And so we had to really go back to the basics when we started after COVID. And that was to basically make sure that when people rocked up, they knew they had someone that could look after them straight away. And not that everyone needs hand-holding to meet other people, but it's intimidating walking into a room of 50 people when you don't know them and sitting down and playing a game. So we've put a lot of thought into making sure that the games that we start when people rock up, that we can drop people in quickly, they can get to know each other and start building those connections from the moment they walk in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty chill.
Yeah, at the moment, I think we try and aim for one gaming social a month. It's usually on a Saturday for about 3 hours at Molly's at the moment, because it was a venue that was willing to accommodate us. And we've been doing extra effort to try and make it more accessible to everyone. We will bring a bunch of social and other games there so people can have access to games without having to bring anything, including screens that have either Jackbox or Mario Kart or other party games for everyone. We will have myself or someone else moderate games. So if you do not have someone and you'd like to meet people to play, we will help set up, run, and teach a couple of games. So that way you can guarantee you're going to get there, meet some new people, have a good time, have lunch, have a drink, continue on, and meet people on Discord.
Yeah. And to expand on that a little bit more, was that kind of the ethos? Maybe this is probably best for you because you've been there for a lot longer, but is that kind of the ethos of why this all started, to meet like-minded people and like kind of, I guess, bridge the invisible barrier that is being queer in a city where it's kind of hard to meet new people?
Yeah, that's interesting actually, because it makes me think of my first event that I went to, and I was like, oh, okay, like there's people here, but there was not really any facilitation, and so it was very much you stayed in your clique, and that was it. And I persisted because I knew I could see the potential, and it just happened that people moved on and did other things, and so positions opened up to help drive the direction on the committee and help get it into a space that I feel like it can grow and keep building on what it's doing. So I've been on the committee for a very long time, and the founders that I worked with ages ago who have moved on to different and bigger and better things and whatnot have definitely helped build a lot of those simple things. Like when pronouns first came out, there was not a lot of people were initially just like, what? Like, what is this? Like, why do we need this? And yet there was the right drives from the people in committees to help make sure that was ingrained in what we did. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And, and I'm interested in just sort of, I want to come back to what I was talking about before. So Warren's come on board as the tabletop expert. How
it makes you sound like a dancer on a table.
A go-go boy.
Yeah, like tabletop. Yeah.
But I guess I'm interested in
we
the
can do that interview as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Exotic dancer.
That'll be on our next podcast.
Yeah, it's a Patreon only.
only fans untucked version.
For free, no.
Yeah. But so you've added different dimensions to it over time. Has it always been? Have you always kind of had like, okay, so we've got tabletop games, we've got card games, we've got board games, or have you kind of added these layers to it?
Because of I didn't answer your question before. I'm sorry. I went on a tangent about COVID. We started simple, and so board games were the easiest things to physically transport and bring to a central location. And everyone's got their own collection, and they're very easy to bring along without needing screens, consoles, controllers. Just there's less peripherals. And you'd need a table and some chairs.
Yeah.
And that's the simplest kind of game you can get into. And I wasn't a huge board gamer. I've definitely more in the video game console space. So for me, it's actually been quite interesting to explore some of these board games. And I bought my first board game a few years ago, kind of thing. And it just works a lot better, I find, in that medium. And so we're starting to introduce things like Jackbox on the screen so that people can play no matter where they're sitting in the venue. They can still participate in a video game. Yeah. And then also Switch Mario Kart. So we'll set up individual stations, which is like the original events used to be, which was exclusively consoles.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, here's a Nintendo console. You can sit down and play Mario Kart.
Yeah. And with Mario Kart and things like Jackbox, they're so accessible to anyone. They don't even need to technically really talk to anyone if they really don't want to, which I totally feel.
Yeah, Jackbox, you could walk outside and still play the game. Like it would still work. And Mario Kart, everyone can push A. So it's kind of, it's really good to it's a good icebreaker game.
Have you ever tried to teach your parents Mario Kart?
Oh, yeah. I did once upon a time. In fact, Mario Kart Wii. They didn't push anything. They would just use, the Wii wheel that they gave? Oh my God, my mum. Yeah. Shout out to you, Jody, by the way.
We love you, Jodes.
She doesn't watch this. So like from there, obviously it's been pretty successful. Like you guys have been running this for a long time. Have you guys had any specific challenges or pushbacks? I know that the queer community in Melbourne is, I would call it tumultuous, but it's definitely
tumultuous.
It's a broad church.
It's a broad church. So how have you guys found like success, and have you had any specific challenges implementing this kind of space?
Yeah, I think one of the key things we would like to change, it's on my wish list at least, is to diversify our committee and get more voices in the committee and whatnot. We had a very strong representation of trans people in the original committee, and that's shifted as over the years, and I want to see it get back to a more diverse group. And in the end, it's a volunteer role. So if people don't have time or they're too busy focusing on work, then which I do, and then forget to do gamer stuff. But it's a time commitment, and there's no kickback from it except a pat on the back from yourself.
But I mean, that's why groups like yours are so important in any space, whether it's the queer space or something else. You know, I personally sing in a choir, which is a men's choir, but it's not exclusively a queer choir, but we're all gay. But you know, I know, right?
A men's choir,
it's just a men's pop choir. Love you, low res, But at the same time, right? Like, so I've served on committees for groups like that, and you do it because you want to. It's a labor of love, right?
And get yourself. I get it.
We only spent hours yesterday printing and laminating little cards for these board games so that we could, try and basically bridge the gap when people pick up a game. We want them to be able to just kind of know how many people need to play the game, know how hard it's going to be to play the game. And then I found out there was an error on all of them, which I'm going to...
Oh, good.
It's driving me nuts. But,
oh, my God. Another trip to Officeworks. But I think I was mentioning this to you off air as well, but I could only imagine, like, if I was a young gay, I've just moved to the city, I may not have the most informal supports with family and things like that. Like, if I want to make new friends, it must be really daunting. So was that, like, another challenge that you guys had, like making sure that the actual community itself was, well, I mean, not to use the term, but like the social interaction was nicely lubricated and everything was nice and simple, because it can be really daunting. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the key benefits, I think, of having everyone under a similar banner like the AGN was if someone moved from Sydney to Melbourne or Melbourne to Brisbane or Brisbane to Sydney, they had a reliable group that they knew that they could talk to in that state. And it actually helped people. And a lot of people have moved from Sydney to Melbourne and now part of Melbourne Gamers who were like, oh, you're from Sydney Gamers. And it's like, I know that this is kind of the same, my people, just in a different state.
Yeah.
So PAX, for example, which was a few weekends ago, that it was a very good example of where we get so many people from all parts of Australia.
Yeah.
And it's very heartwarming to hear their stories and whatnot about being able to connect with people from across Australia about that.
You did an event at PAX, right? On the Friday night, was it?
So we ended up doing a community session, which Warren and the team run. I couldn't attend this event for the first time in many years, so I was very butthurt. But
yeah. So we've historically had a space in the Diversity Lounge where we've had a stall up and our banners and so on, and to sell merchandise and talk to people about gamers and the Discord group and get people involved. This time we were just given one of the rooms for a couple of hours, and we effectively used it like our gaming social, where we had a bunch of games and we taught people. I think the game of that section was first Wavelength and then Durian, and then there was a werewolves game, and there was a bunch of people playing Magic the Gathering and other ones that we had set up, and it was great. The room was packed. We had a line to get in, which I actually personally pleasantly surprised by,
especially for
it was really
6. It was started at 6:30.
Yeah, it was 6:30. It was the end of the session where we thought people would either be eating or retired by that point.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
Yeah, so we try and do that. We apply each year for the Diversity Lounge booths, just for the number of applications. They try and share the love around a little bit, which is fine. So we're going to try again next year, and we hope we can get a spot. But we actually might try to do both next year, because we actually found so much benefit in doing the community room, because it actually got to showcase what the events are like rather than just telling people about them. So yeah, we might try to do both next year.
Yeah, everyone had a great time. It's good.
Yeah. And leading on to that as well, like in terms of any kind of future plans for the Melbourne Gamers specifically, could you tell anyone who's listening any particular plans you guys might have coming up, any changes or anything that you're trying to use to shake up the gaming space?
Yeah, we've been in touch with a lot of our sponsors again now. So again, the Ms. Rona killed everything, but basically we back in touch with the Blizzard, Nintendo, all that, to try and get our sponsorships back to a point where we can start doing things like giveaways and stuff at events. So at the moment, for example, the next event, Microsoft have very kindly donated us a bunch of stuff to give away. So we've got a bunch of shirts and things like that, and some mouse pads and controllers that we're going to do as a giveaway towards Christmas.
I haven't seen a mouse pad since 2005. That's exciting.
These are the deluxe ones that
it's got games like Doom from 2000.
They are retro buttons. So
they were deliberately going for their retro store now that they've inspired Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, I'm into this.
So I don't think we need them to necessarily run the event, but they're a good value add in my eyes. It helps encourage people who might be on the, do I go, do I not go? I was like, I actually can grab a shirt. Sure. That tips me over the line. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I think also we have been trying to get up a more regular Fems and Them session.
Yeah.
Because it may be less intimidating and more welcoming to some segments of the community to
Mhm.
feel like there is that space that's more for them. There's also some other stuff within. So we've been getting some new party and social games to do. And I know at one point when we had enough people, we were hoping even to get some like TTRPG sessions going and to have people run and do them. So there's a lot of stuff that now that the committee's got bigger post-COVID, we'd like to get back to doing.
Yeah, and there's always stuff to do. Like we're still like always looking to expand, and I've got my wish list of things I want to do, and
Mhm.
and one of them, yeah, definitely is the Fems and Thems event. So a lot of feedback we had is I think people turn up and there's a room full of guys and they're just immediately like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
I as much as I want the space to be okay for everyone, and some people do stay, it is just intimidating. And it's
of course,
the same
yeah.
as when a gay person goes to a straight pub and there's like a lot of people around. You just naturally are on guard, and that's not what we wanted.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the Fems and Thems events, assuming I can find people who are willing to step up and help run them, because I don't feel like I can run them on my own, for example, is help push that space and make it a separate event that might happen, say so we'll do it like a TikTok. So every month we'll have 2 events, and one of them will be a Fems and Thems special, and then one will be the main event, which everyone's still welcome to.
Yeah. And we brought it up before, but one could only imagine walking into a space with a bunch of gay men. I'd find that intimidating. So I can imagine being a femme presenting person or a they them person. That's not exactly their natural forte. They probably wouldn't want to walk in. They don't know anyone. And then of course you've got that extra barrier as well, where you've got that, I guess, that extra worry. So it's definitely really important that you've got those extra spaces, because not everyone who plays video games is a white man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that from looking at the panel, but yeah.
That's the thing. I don't want to fall into that. I don't want to fall into that trap.
Oh, for those who can't see.
Yeah.
For those who are just listening, we're all white, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to fall into that trap where we do just start making assumptions. And that's why I'm always wanting to make sure we're checking ourselves and saying, well, okay, who else are we need to take into account here? Because, and again, the committee's always open to more voices. So in the end, we should try and build that up and get the right representation in.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And look, more power to you for wanting to create those safe spaces. You know, myself as a man in his 40s who started gaming a long time ago when there was virtually none of this, and having to sort of be online. I did a lot of online gaming. I didn't really have friends in that space, and I just kind of put up with what I used to hear in games, playing games online, and I would not really have the the courage or the bravery to kind of speak up when someone was basically saying "you fag" and other slurs like that.
It's in the end, it's about, if you can find, say, if you're playing Diablo and you want to find 3 other people who can join you on your campaign, then you know that they're not going to turn around and harass you to the to the ends of the earth. And so it's about finding that reliable connection.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just goes to show that there's a community for everyone, no matter what you do, especially in the queer space, right? We are a particularly nerdy group of people.
There's a massive overlap, especially
Again, I'm shocked.
But
the podcasters?
I know. I am outraged. Are you outraged? I'm outraged. I always like to tell the story about how, so I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
He's a massive Trekkie.
Massive Trekkie. You've been to the convention with me in Vegas.
Yeah. I went for the free booze, just for reference, by the way.
And I remember going to that, and it's the gayest thing I've ever been to. We went to Dory Alley in San Francisco the weekend before.
For all those people I met at Doria.
Yeah. The Star Trek convention was filthier.
Yeah, you were dressed as a slave, so you were particularly amorously.
And I was an Orion slave. Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know what that means.
Completely painted in green.
Down on that.
Yeah.
He was painted fully green while I was walking around with 2 2-foot-long margaritas, being like, "Hey, you have fun." I felt like his mum or something.
Yeah.
You're the cool mum, don't worry.
I also spent 3 months living on deep breaths so that I could walk around looking like that.
I think you see that at Comic-Con as well.
Yeah.
And PAX as well. It's so many guys.
But the thing is, the cosplay community and the queer community intersect in a really major way, because it also has elements of drag in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we went to PAX, and I've been to 1,000,001 Comic-Cons, I was talking to a lot of the cosplay people, and I realized, a lot of these people are queer and they get a lot of their ability to do makeup, their hair, like a lot of the styrofoam stuff as well. It's all like has a basis in drag. So it's good. There's always that overlap. I feel like nerds are really queer.
Yeah. There's this bittersweet side of though that I feel like it's almost come out of wanting to build a shell around you though. And I assume it's the same with drag, but when people put on their persona, they feel like invulnerable almost because you have this, exterior shield.
Yeah. Because the criticism isn't going to you. It's going to what you're dressed as. So, yeah.
But you mentioned PAX, for example. So we were having a little bit of a chat about at the pub beforehand around how this show has kind of progressed, where we started just making fun of cheap games, but we've now sort of started pivoted into games from a queer perspective. And going into PAX, we did a lot of research on a lot of the indie devs that were going to be there and started making connections with them.
Yeah.
And we realized that there is a huge community. I don't know if you'd call it an underground community.
It's less underground and more just parallel. It's running parallel to like what the mainstream game would be. Like they're at the same level, and they might not have the same level of resource because they're usually a bit smaller and obviously they're startups, but they're like a parallel universe of people, and they're all queer developers with queer perspectives putting their out there.
Yeah.
Isn't the running joke that, if you had the plane to a furry convention go down, all of banking and coding security goes down because they're all members of that in the queer community?
Honestly,
I think there is a massive intersection of that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But it was very eye-opening for us.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of changed the direction of this podcast from being, actually there's this whole community out there that really needs to be celebrated and kind of brought to the forefront. Like the number of devs who were showing off indie games.
And they were fucking good.
They were really good.
Shout out to Key Fairy, by the way.
Yeah, you loved Key
Loved
Fairy.
Key Fairy.
Yeah.
It's actually one on my wish list of the AGN is to actually connect more than just the actual players, but also the developers and the streamers. So the people who stream on Switch and whatnot, is connect them all. Because in the end, if you're going to pick someone to look at and watch on Twitch, you probably want them to be queer if you're a queer person. So it was about being more about a directory of like, here's a bunch of devs. If someone's looking for a job, if someone's doing game design and wants to join a queer studio, where do they start? Do they go queer studios? If there's a nice directory.
Yeah, and there's so many people out there now who are making, and then say for example for Knife Games, who we made, what was it? Shelf Life, Art School Detective
with the hot characters.
Yeah, exactly. But they're just a group of people from New Zealand who are making these games at home by themselves, and they're just trying to make the games that have the representation in them that maybe a lot of us wished that our games had when we were growing up. And again, it was similar to us kind of pivoting in this podcast. It was like, well, actually, let's stop wasting our money on these awful
$2.99
AI generated games that don't deserve our money, and start funneling it more in the direction of that queer kind of gaming stuff. Right?
Yeah. And the indie games sometimes aren't that bank breaking either. They're usually quite affordable.
Yeah.
And because they can probably split the money from a developer side a lot easier than going through publishers and whatnot. Yeah. So
definitely.
Do the Melbourne Gamers have anything to do with the Melbourne Queer Gaming Festival at all?
No, we don't.
So that's I didn't even realize that was a thing until like 2 months ago. But that's just had their short list of games announced, and it's all these Aussie and Kiwi games, just people who are developing it in their spare time.
Labor projects. Love labor.
Yeah. But I've gone through and wish listed them all on Steam, played the demos, gone on itch, paid the pay what you think it's worth kind of amount.
The shout me a coffee program thing.
Yeah. But they're good and they're fun. But they're also experimental in a way that mainstream gaming doesn't really kind of have at the moment.
That was one of my wish list items was to get that engagement going between the players, because I feel like the gamers group are definitely more of the end users kind of thing, and get them connected with the devs more hand in hand. And we used to do events at Bar SK, which is closed since, but that was on Smith Street, and that was basically like an art studio, but it was a video game art studio. So
I remember Bar SK, yeah.
So it was
just up from Circuit,
yeah, just opposite. And we used to run events there, and we used to. I really wanted to drive a thing where queer developers could showcase their game, and we could have that on the big screen, and people could get to play the game then and there, even if before it was released, that kind of thing. And that was one of the incentives. So it's on my backlog.
Yeah.
If there are any queer developers listening,
Yeah.
touch, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, reach out, bargainbingamer@gmail.com. Patreon.com. No, sorry. We need your money. I wanted to get to know the both of you a little bit. So I've been emailing both of you interchangeably for the last couple of months to get you on the show.
Just to double check this isn't.
Yeah, exactly. But we wanted to hear a little bit more about, so Warren and Jake as gamers. So first question I have for you, I'll start with Warren. Your first gaming experience, can you remember that?
So I have been playing games for as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
I think probably one of the earliest memories is my family had a computer, and my father was big into having games and PC games, but he had a Mac and he got Doom.
Oh,
And I remember playing it. I had three brothers at the time.
Mhm.
One person got the mouse, one got WASD, and the other person got to jump. But it ran at about 5 frames a minute. I have 3 kids, maybe between 5 to 7, who are trying to coordinate a first-person shooter at 5 frames a minute. And I could pretend that it was about teamwork, but it was about then playing it at its actual speed and going, what the fuck was I doing all that time? Trying to do
It
jumping
just makes
puzzles.
the game last longer.
Yeah.
Because
How
you're
hard
only
it is
playing
to do
it
a
for-
jumping puzzle between 3 kids at 5 frames a minute. Then I learned how to use cheat codes.
Yeah,
Of course.
that's pure gaming in the 90s right there, by the way.
But there were lots of games. I remember playing Warlords with Hot Seat back then. I remember parents playing Lemmings back then.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What a flashback. I haven't
Yep.
thought about that game for a
Do you
long
know
time.
what Lemmings is, Mitchell?
I played it once when I was a very young child, and then I never played it again.
Oh, okay.
It's probably vintage when you played it.
My parents were very vintage because they didn't believe in having too much internet connection. So when I was younger, we didn't have much of an internet. So
Yeah, neither.
we had
We didn't
Lemmings.
have
So
much of an internet.
we didn't. So shout out to you again, Jody.
Back in my day.
Back in my day of 2008, when I would have been using the
Well,
computer.
we got our 400 meg broadband connection, and
Yeah.
I opened Wolf ET and it downloaded an update, and I ran out. And I was just like, oh, well, that's it for a month. I have to wait.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
My first memory would be the NES. Good
N-
old NES. So
yeah.
we were lucky to have a NES and good old Super Mario Brothers.
A classic.
Staple. Yeah.
A classic first.
So, but when it got a bit tricky, or the tricky levels, I had to come help out because I didn't have the agility and the precision I do now to smash that game. So it was good to go back as an adult and play that game again and get these weird wisps of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that your dad probably helped you with those levels. Whereas I remember, once again, another reference to my mom. My mom was a single parent. And when I couldn't finish a
Jove.
level, I would get so mad. And I'd be like, Mom, can you do it? And she has no idea how to play video games. So she was like, what am I going to do? On the PlayStation 2, I was like, Mom, please.
Yeah, I used to play with Mum. We used to
Aw.
play together.
Aw.
Yeah, but then my parents separated. Maybe that was why.
You were just forcing too much gaming time on them.
Yeah,
They
too
had
much
to.
gaming.
Yeah.
Trying
Mine was with my sisters. It was ugly because it was more just a competition.
I was just I'm surprised the brother situation wasn't more fighting.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised as well. There was not that much competition.
Harmonious.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it was worse with sisters. I'm the youngest of 3, and I have 2 older sisters, and they were brutal. If they wanted to play, we had Sega, so Master System and Mega Drive. If they wanted to play it, I had no say in the matter.
Oh,
Unless
did you play Echo?
I did not play Echo.
Echo was a staple on the Sega.
Yeah, I'm a Sonic fan,
Oh,
so I'm
absolutely.
currently playing like Sonic / Shadow Generations or whatever it's called, but
Yeah.
always been a massive Sonic fan.
Yeah, I do love Sonic.
Another question I wanted to ask you both. So again, I'll start with Warren. So what is one of the most influential games for you apart from Doom of all time?
I would probably say, so I could have gone for the easy option, and that Ocarina of Time was one of those first proper RPG games.
Good choice.
My cat
Mm-hmm.
recently passed away was called Link.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically because of that, I went and downloaded an emulator, would play it on an almost yearly basis because I think it's just such a great, well done game.
Mm.
But I actually think probably Baldur's Gate 2. So I never played number 1.
Mhm.
A friend showed me number 2. And that moment where you come out of the dungeon after being
Yep.
imprisoned by Irenicus and he blows the shit out of everything, and really getting into that system and then understanding how it worked, playing it, helped introduce me to D&D and role playing. and what RPGs could be with a good story and a finite set of game and conclusion. So I think that really made a massive difference to being more into fantasy and more into some of that turn-based gaming.
Jake?
You stole my answer.
Oh no.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Zelda
yeah,
representative.
just got to fill time for a little bit now.
Ocarina of Time absolutely was a massive part of my childhood. But funny story, when I first got the game, I was playing by myself, and a friend that lived down the road at the time also had the game. We both got it at Christmas, so we were playing independently. She was 4 years older than me, but I thought that the game was just Kokori Forest.
Oh,
I never got out of
yeah,
Kokori.
yeah.
I was so, I was like,
You'll understand that when you eventually play.
I still know what the game is.
so you have to go find the shield and find the sword. And I was young. I didn't know it. So I was just enjoying playing that. And then I didn't realize there was this whole massive game behind it. And just, didn't have that unlocked for
I
me.
know that's essentially the tutorial.
I know.
Is Kokiri
And you were like, whoa, this is
very
sick.
young. I was very young. But that and Super Mario 64. That was,
yes.
two staples of my childhood. Mum let me stay home from school to play on my birthday. I was so excited.
I've managed to do my entire gaming career without ever playing Super Mario Brothers.
Me too, by
I
the way.
was just racing because
Or Mario Galaxy.
oh my
Or
no.
I guess Mario Tennis is probably the closest.
I think that might be me too, actually. Smash Bros is probably the closest Mario interaction I've had.
There's a good birthday story with that as well.
We were
Davey
playing.
and I are dying inside slightly.
Exactly.
We did play Mario Party last night, though, so I have played Mario Party. I'll take it back.
You see my pearls? I'm clutching them.
But
right now.
I've never played like a Mario game, so
Platformers and shove it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so going from like influential games in your first games to current day, I'll go the same option more into Jake. At the moment, what current games are you playing and why are you playing them? Like what's got you into them?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of gaming for me is social. I have a stressful job. I get home and it's nice to be able to jump on Discord and chat with a regular group of people and talk shit and unwind. And so a lot of it will be team-based games or casual games. So currently we'll all play Overwatch together or we'll jump on Phasmophobia or
I
one
love
of the-
Phasma.
we have on the Discord, one of the sounds is just that. Have it grab you.
Have you ever played Phasma?
I've only ever watched people play Phasma because I'm a little scaredy bitch. And anytime I play scary game, because I love horror movies, because that's on like a track. There's nothing I can do to change it. When I'm playing a horror game, it's my mistake that kills me.
You need to play Amnesia Dark Descent then. But
You can come and watch me play it and I'll just start crying, but that's okay.
But it's nice because we'll do that. And then one of them, they have a habit of the group will buy whoever's birthday it is, the trashiest $5 game. So it was Shawarma King was the last one. Before then it was Orc Massage.
What?
Which is as adult as you could expect. And they'll stream it for everyone else. One of them loves dating games for some reason. But I personally, Overwatch for fun with friends, a lot of deck building games. So Slay the Spire. I've started playing Balatro. I don't find it as great as everyone else said.
Contentious.
Yeah, it's contentious. It doesn't scratch the itch in the same way that Slay the Spire does. I just don't think it's as good.
But you're the sort of tabletop board gamer as well, right?
I do all of them, yeah.
So
He's versatile.
we played a tabletop game that our friend Zach submitted us to last night. What was it called? Shadowcast?
Shadowcaster, Shadowbound?
Shadowbound? I don't know. Shadowcaster. I feel like it was Shadowcaster. I don't know. But what's the tabletop game that you go to?
So hard because it depends on the audience that you've got.
Yes.
So if I say I want to sit down and have a 2-hour crunchy session where all I'm doing is thinking about how to win at that end game, I think Dune Imperium is fantastic. I think Arc, which has just come out, Arcs is fantastic. If you're wanting to have fun, then you're just wanting a social game.
Yeah.
I think you can't go past Monikers or Decrypto or some of those party type games.
Which I knew as the Colander game.
Yeah.
A calendar.
It's like
I'm sure I have no idea of any of the things.
We're just
It's like celebrity heads.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's horses for courses and you can pull stuff out. So I've got a huge bookcase and a half full, which I've had to pare down. Kind of.
And yourself, Jake, what's currently in the rotation?
I just finished Baldur's Gate 3, which
Okay.
for me was actually my first D&D experience. And I hadn't played D&D before. And I had BG recommended to me. I was like, oh, you should play this. I don't mind. I liked Fallout and I like the character building and whatnot. So I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. And then I played my first D&D game session about 2 or 3 weeks after I started playing BG. I thought, these spells are very similar. Like, surely there is some sort of copyright issue here. Like, because these are named identically, not realizing that the game was entirely based around.
I was going to say, you're currently selling Baldur's Gate to me because I've been meaning to play it for so long.
If you love D&D, then it is just.
Well, I've been trying to get into D&D, but it's such a mountain to climb. I get a little bit like.
There was a lot of learning, and it does okay at onboarding someone who's never played D&D before.
Right. Okay.
But luckily, I had a D&D expert.
I was going to say, I might have to go to Warren for that.
Sure, we can host a session. You could even like stream that and have just the stupidity online.
Yeah, well, it's me. It'll be stupid.
That would actually be fun.
Happy to actually run a session because it can be fantastic.
Oh my God, because I've been meaning to break into D&D for so long. And I was like, Baldur's Gate is probably going to be like the way that I marry myself into it because it's like a video game, but it's D&D. So it's like,
I can see why. I can see the appeal. I see the appeal of D&D. Like, I completely understand it. And it actually makes you think creatively, which you don't normally have to do in linear games. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then now Zelda, I realized I'm a very monolithic gamer. I will do one game at a time, and I will complete it from start to finish, or whatever I consider as finish, and then I will move on to another game. Yeah. Whereas other friends will flip between games.
Oh yeah,
he's that.
I need to be more disciplined because like I'll start playing a game, I'll get really far into it, and then I'll be like, what's on special?
He'll be blowing up my phone with 3 different games, and I'm still playing one. And I'm like engrossed with it.
So I've got a massive backlog now of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom came out just as I was finishing BG. So it's like I had to finish up BG and then get onto that. And then I've got God of War Ragnarok, which is finally on PC. So I'm waiting for that.
It's a hard time of year though, because all the big like pre-holiday specials come out, right?
And they don't, they keep coming up with new ones. I'm like, my Steam library is,
What work? What job? Who needs it?
Oh, that's incredible. So look, we are a little short on time, but first of all, thank you both so much for coming in and chatting to us and just letting us know all about what's going on with the Melbourne Gamers and getting to know you a little bit more, which is really, really, really nice.
Very nice.
I guess what we should probably finish with, though, is a bit of promotion for Melbourne Gamers. So for all 5 people who listen to this podcast.
Thanks, Mum.
Oh, Jody, you are just the best. She's a Patreon as well. She's not.
That's where the money's going, right?
Might take top dancing offer.
She's waiting around for that.
So what's coming up and how can people get involved?
Yeah, so next Saturday actually is our next event. So we aim for monthly, but Saturday I have the details on my phone, but it's
we will put links in the episode description.
But otherwise, it's gamers gaymers.org.au and everything's on there. So there's a calendar of all our events, the planned dates. We realize not everyone uses Facebook, so they cross-posted on Discord and also a Google Calendar, so you can just have them appear in your calendar.
Amazing.
So Mitch and I are planning to come to the one next Saturday. So as first timers, what's the advice? What do we do? What do we bring?
What do I wear?
Clothes, preferably.
That's different for Molly's.
It's dress up, not dress down. Yeah. It's going to be a lovely Saturday. It's going to be
like 30 degrees or something.
Sure. Maybe I won't wear much then.
It's so full these days with the events are getting bigger and bigger. We're actually going to open up the patio area.
Oh, amazing!
Food and drinks and games. So sorry, smokers, you have to go at the front. We just need this. We need the space, which is a good problem to have.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's.
So you're going to come down, bring yourself. Bring desire to meet new people, open to new things and have fun. We have games. We will help run some, but also bring your friends. Like if you have a group of people where you'd like to go to that setting, fantastic. Don't have lunch, eat there, get a drink. It's very easy to get there. Which tram is it?
86. Yeah.
Iconic 86 Melbourne tram.
Yeah, or the 112 is very close. Yeah.
Uber.
I'll get the tram. I'm an efficient girlie. I'll get the tram.
I'll pick you up on the way.
Peasants. I was going to say, I mean, this is not to promote crime, but I mean, it's a public system. We can just jump on the tram. You know what I'm saying?
When you tap on, yes, exactly.
Fucking weirdo. Well, anyway, that's amazing. We're going to be there. So to our listeners and viewers, make sure, if you haven't already, please check out the Melbourne Gamers if you are in Melbourne, but also check out the Australian Gamer Network if you are anywhere else in this wonderful country. Warren, Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. I've been Davey.
And I've been Mitch.
And we've been
The Bargain Bin Gamers. See you on Saturday. Come down. Come say hi. We drink beer.
You're asking people to shout for drinks?
I mean, they're not going to go on our Patreon. So that's what I mean. Yeah.
He's done a lot worse for a lot less, trust me.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a big thumbs up on YouTube or follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast from and leave us a 5-star review. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky and follow along on our live Twitch streams. You can also continue the conversation in our BQN podcast Discord by clicking the link in the episode description. Don't forget that the Bargain Bin Gamer is part of a larger network of podcasts called the BQN. You can support this and other BQN programs by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/BQN. We'd love to hear your feedback on the episode. Leave us a comment on YouTube or send us an email to bargainbingamer, GAYMER, @gmail.com. Until next time, au revoir.
Double T Media.